Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, podcast Pete and lifestyle coach. And we have a special guest for you today. I want you to kind of dial in because when you have people that are making an impact, I want you to think about where you can help Christa. And when you get to know her, you'll find out why. So, Christa, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into our podcast.
All right. Well, who am I? That's always a good question.
Who am I? Good song out there.
Yes.
Who am I?
That's right. A song for everything. I totally have a song for everything.
Yes.
My daughter gets very annoyed with me sometimes because I have a song for everything.
Yes.
So my name is Christa Slimman, and I am a wife of 31 years, almost 31 years. A mother of two. I have a 25 and a 22-year-old, and one boy, one girl. And I, let's see, I guess I can't tell you where. Well, you're going to ask me where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have to. Don't have to say that yet. Currently, I substitute teach at a private school in Ackworth, and I am just kind of in transition, trying to figure some things out. So I have lived in the state of Georgia all my entire life. I was born at Crawford Lawn Hospital before it became Emory in downtown Atlanta. So I'm a Georgia native. So does that help? Okay.
It's beautiful. And I want to just share that because when I heard you speak at Rotary, and I think we're all at different times of our life, we're in that transition time when I noticed it when I went to my reunion, 50th high school reunion. They say, Pete, when are you going to retire? And I said, never. I'm just going to keep challenging, keep doing some things that'll really fill the heart and make a difference. So tell our viewers, like, at what point did you kind of come to that decision that I'm going to look at some different things? I don't know exactly what I'm looking, but I have a general idea. Tell our viewers what you're thinking about and how did you come about that time in your life?
Well, I am the eldest of 6 children, so I am always doing. They if you want something planned, you call me. That's how my life is. And I've always been. I love Rotary. I like. I said this when I received my acceptance, and I had my little acceptance speech, and I was like, I felt like I was being inducted in the Hall of Fame. But Rotary is like the Hall of Fame to me. Like that football, they can have their Hall of Fame, but service is so important to me, and it always has been.
Yes.
And so to back up, I've lived in a life of service, serving whatever way that I can. When my children started to go to school, because I homeschooled them up until about 6th grade. So when they started to go to school, I decided I wanted to be more active in serving because I could. Like, being a homeschool mom and being a mom in and of itself is just, that is a full-time, job. So I didn't want to take away from that. So in 2016, I started serving at what was Cobb Pregnancy Services and is now First Care Women's Clinic. It's a pregnancy resource center. And I worked there for 10 years. I served in the community for 10 years, served hundreds of women as a life skills coach and just encouraging and equipping them, helping them to have resources for, and so we would refer to different places like Ministries and other places like that. We would refer to different places because we couldn't do everything. We did have a clothes closet and things like that. We did have life skills and just the joy of my life. I taught a lot about boundaries and helping women with good boundaries and some men too, because I would teach a life skills class for couples. But it was such a joy to me to walk away. And like the next week, the woman would come in and she'd be like, "Oh, Christa, I used what you said in the boundaries and I did this and I had courage and I stepped up for myself." And I was like, yes, I love this. This is so exciting. So, in the midst of all of that, there were lots of homeless people, a lot of women who experienced domestic violence,
Hmm.
and I felt limited in the capacity there because there was a lot of policy, like we couldn't take any clients home, we couldn't like house them or give them money or anything like that. Everything had to come through the clinic, which is fine. It was a necessary thing because the clinic had gotten burned before when we'd stepped outside of that realm. So I'm not knocking that at all, but I
Hmm.
felt the desire to want to do more and to be able to um, effectively help. Um, so it's been tickling in the back of my mind for a very long time to
Hmm.
actually have a place for homeless pregnant women. I recently read a book called "What Happened to You" by Dr. Bruce Perry, who's a child psychologist, and Oprah Winfrey. They co-wrote the book,
Hmm.
and one of the things that he says is the impact of a child in the first 12 months of their life. If they don't have the proper and necessary attunement from the mother, especially the mother, it really sets them up for a very difficult life when they do experience trauma and things like this. But if you have attunement, that's so important. So I was like, okay, I'm a believer. I love God. I've talked to him all my life. And I'm like, God, what do you want me to do here? Like, how would you like me to, um, because I feel like this is a need. And I had clients that would be living out of their cars with a newborn, and they were living out of their cars, and I must bless them, they just didn't have enough room, and the places that we were sending to them, they were overbooked, and that sort of thing. And so I it just broke my heart. And so I said, well, what can I do? How can I, help? And then of course domestic violence is also important to me, but I'm more about the homelessness, and especially the children with that are growing up. And a mom can't really attune to a child very well when she's struggling for her own survival. Like, that's very
Yes,
difficult.
totally.
So that's been my passion, it's evolved to what I'm trying to do right now. Shall I go into that, or should I
Yeah.
wait?
Yeah, because I want you to dig deeper into that with our audience because I love, I could see your eyes light up when you were talking about mentoring the ladies and putting those boundaries and just seeing the transformation that's possible. So yeah, go a little bit deeper because that's something I would love our community to have a better understanding of.
So when this idea has been tickling my mind for several years, quit working at First Care Women's Clinic in March of 2024, and since then, since that point, it's just been a waiting game for me. I'm like gathering my resources. I'm trying to figure out. Well, I met someone, I'll say randomly, but I never think. And for me, there's always destiny involved. It's never random.
Right.
I met someone at my husband's part of BNI, which is a
Mhm.
business networking group, and there was a woman that's part of BNI, and we happened to randomly at a table together, and she was talking about her desires. She was asking me what I did, and I explained to her I was in transition and what I had done before. And then she was talking to me about her desires to start something with domestic violence and things like this, and to help women with domestic violence. I said, well, we should get together. We should talk. Life has gotten too heavy for her. So I've kind of let her be where she needs to be, and she's in
Mhm.
her own journey and whatever. But that moment was January 5th.
Mhm.
And uh, um, so Deb Morton, her daughter Morgan, I was meeting with Morgan because Morgan's trying to help me with the business plan, because I decided I was going to try to do a business plan. I was going to try to start a coffee shop and
Mhm.
hopefully use the money from the coffee shop, the profits, go towards what I want to do, which is to help homeless women, to help victims of domestic violence. So, and they call it something else. A woman that I've spoken to recently said they're not victims, they're survivors. I think she said there's some kind of terminology that you're
Yeah.
supposed to use, and I haven't gotten a hold of that. So my tongue keeps going back to what was. So forgive me for that. But I think she said survivors. I want to be respectful.
Mhm.
So anyway, I I've begun from January 5th until, now I've been looking at, well, what would it look like for me to own a coffee shop? And can I do a hybrid? I've really dived into it. I've talked to a lot of business owners. One in particular business owner is a business owner in Ackworth, and he has tremendously helped me. But I've met so many people in Rotary, and it's so exciting to me because since Morgan said, you need to go to Rotary. Those are your people. Like, you need to go there. And she doesn't, it's her mom that's the part of Rotary. It's not even Morgan, but she was pushing me. And so I said, oh, okay, well, I'll get up at 7 a.m. I'll get there at 7 a.m. And I'm not usually a morning person. So the first time I went to Rotary, I was like, I can become a morning person, because there was fire there. And I have a holy fire, I call it, to do what it is that I'm called to do. And I feel like I've always said, I feel like I've got about 20 more years, not knocking on anybody who's in their 70s that is still doing. I hope to never retire. Like, but I feel like I've got at least a good 20 years of doing something like impactful. And it doesn't have to be anything like big. I don't have to be a president of anything or speak or do anything like that, just to be impactful in what my passion is. And that is helping these categories. And so anyway, I've been working like tirelessly since then, trying to figure it out. I have come to the conclusion that it would be, I think, a waste of my own resources and I'm going to say I've come to an 80% surety of a conclusion that it would be a waste of my resources to open a coffee house, because I would have to devote my entire life 24/7 to that.
I would agree.
And I don't want to, I just don't, I want to be for the people. Like, I want to be in people's lives. And when I was at First Care Women's Clinic, there had been opportunities for me to take over the clinic, because the director was stepping down. I could have applied for the job and that sort of thing. And I don't want to manage, like, I don't want to manage something where it takes me away from doing what I'm gifted at. And that's really my gifting. And so it's been a struggle of discovery, but it's also been a good, like, the past 3 months, I've really learned about myself and what's best for me. And if I could help somebody, like, own a coffee shop, that I could actually train some of the people that I'm trying to bring in, then I want to, like, reach out. I want to do that. But my ultimate goal is to have a home for women not that I would have a house mom. I would hire a house mom, that sort of thing, but it would house 4 to 5 people. My husband's a realtor. So, I'm always looking for real estate and things like this to see what opportunities become available, to make that happen. But for now, I'm not sitting still. Like, I don't want myself to, I don't want to allow myself the opportunity to become idle with this, because it's such a passion right now. And I mean, it always will be, it always has been. But so I actually went this past, was it Monday or Tuesday? The days get away from me. But I think it was Monday. I went to and spoke with the CEO of Ministries, Dr. Ike. And he's a wonderful person, so full of passion and love for people. And I had never met him before. I was introduced from a friend of a friend. And then I spoke with his housing manager. And so I have a meeting with the housing manager and the programs. They said that the top 3 things that they need right now is 1, placement for especially homeless families. 2 is life skills and coaching, and parenting classes. And she said, even as simple as helping them get on the computer to look up their children's grades and things like this. And I said, I think I can do that. Like, that's something that I can jump into and step into right now while I'm still figuring out, the other things that I'm trying to figure out. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Oh, when you said at Rotary about opening a coffee shop, the first thing that came to my mind is that is a major undertaking.
Yes, it
zoning,
is.
I mean, you could go into 100 things that will take your time and suck your time. And, there are coffee shops out there that you can partner with. And I
Right.
do, I love what you just said. But I want to go back to, before I go into the mentoring, you said that self discovery. Like, so many times we're so busy being busy, we're reacting, we're just kind of going through, I'm not going to say mindlessly, but we're not being aware of what's going on, much less our own self. So when you said that self-discovery, share with our viewers, what did that mean when you went into that stage of your life to kind of figure out the next part of the journey? How did you do that?
That is a great question. And do you have a couple hours? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm saying
Um,
it's, and I will agree with you on there. You just don't like switch. It doesn't just switch. It's a
no.
gradual thing. So I would love for you to go a little bit deeper into that journey so people can understand the value of that.
Um, so it's kind of a backstory. Both of my children have experienced mental health issues. And so I have always been interested in mental health and especially the areas of trauma. Even the book, What Happened to You, the child psychologist Dr. Perry talks a lot about childhood trauma and how that affects the rest of your life. Like choices and decisions that you don't even realize. And Oprah was even mentioning in that book, she was talking about how she didn't realize that the reason why she was doing some of the things or reacting some of the ways she was reacting was because of something that had happened to her in her childhood. But she didn't put two and two together until she started diving in. So because of that, interest in mental health and understanding, I started a course called Narrative Focused Trauma Care.
Mhm.
Narrative means your story. So you're doing story work to learn about yourself in order to start self-discovery and understanding like why you do the things you do, who you are. And so it's through the Allender Center out of Seattle.
Mhm.
Dr. Dan Allender, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's written a lot of books.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
have.
his
Mhm.
name is Dan Allender, and they have a school. And so last year I started this narrative focused trauma care course, and learned through writing my own stories and having someone witness my stories and the things, stories of shame, stories of harm, stories of family origin, because we all have a story. Like we have a family story, we have a cultural story, we have
Mhm.
a cultural based on whether you're in the South or the North or the Midwest. Like we all
Yes.
have these different stories playing into our lives that can cause harm for us and
Mhm.
also cause us to act and react in certain ways. And so
Mhm.
I started on that journey last year, and I'm in my second year. It's a 3-year course. If I want to get certified, which I may still do, but I've learned so much. I could lead a story work class, right now in what I'm doing, without getting the final end certification. But um, I have read so many books and learned about my own story of spiritual abuse, my own story of the harm and family of origin. Even though I love my family, like I have a wonderful family, but there was still things, words like triangulation and enmeshment and boundary crossing, things like this that I have learned and come to understand. And it has been such freedom for me. Like I am free to be who I am and not who somebody else wants me to be.
Yes.
And so I hope to teach that. Like I hope to offer that to others, but to also acknowledge the harm, the spiritual abuse that happened, that still continues today in many religious sectors,
Mhm.
the racial harm that still is hurting people of color, like persons of color. There's just a lot of things that I want to be a witness, and I want to walk alongside. And I can't change anything. Dr. Allenders always says, he says, binds like the now and the not yet binds are unsolvable. And that is such a hard phrase for me because I'm a fixer. I want to fix and solve a problem. So something that I've learned in the self-discovery is not to try to solve, but to just witness and sit with you and learn and listen to you, to learn, what your story is. Psychologists say that research says that the more you tell your story of harm, of shame, the more release it has in your brain. And so you're releasing a part of that. Not that to say that it never happened, because that's not true, but it helps the process of PTSD to help go through that and work through that, and to have a safe witness that is attuned to you, that is, understanding, that is not trying to fix you or call you a broken bird or anything like that. So, that's hopefully a short version of a lot of work.
Is really good. I mean, I've heard, just like I had a person that he was, I don't know how we found each other. We never figured that out, but he grew up at age 5 in a concentration camp in Russia. So not your normal pre-K upbringing, but what he said was, he said PTSD, we all know what PTSD is, but he said PTSD, that his growth that came from that experience elevated him to the incredible levels to be able to be a person in Russia doing some incredible things. Now he's in different countries, pouring back into schools. I mean, he's doing some incredible things. And he said it was at age 5 that really formed that trauma, but he grew from it. And he said, you can either be better or bitter. It's a choice that we have. And I've heard so many things about the first 7 years of our life forms everything, that we don't even know how we react to things, but it was something that happened younger, like when we're in our younger years, that we don't know how to handle unless we have somebody that comes alongside that can get those stories out, that understand why you're doing things. So I totally agree. What do you think, Mike? What have you learned? And I totally agree with the mental health, that we probably don't know what goes on as much up here. We take physical showers to clean ourselves, but we don't do mental showers. And this is things does so much. Why do you think that people neglect the mental journey of life in what you've seen?
I'm going to say the simplest and the first thing that comes to mind, because as you were speaking earlier, and I'll get to that phrase, I'll share a phrase with you that I've learned. But I think that people want to avoid suffering. And it is so easy to try to just go through life without having to dive into self-reflection, because there is a cost for self-reflection. And it's difficult. It has been a difficult journey for me to see myself and to see my upbringing with the eyes that I needed to see them, because I just kind of snowed over it, and that's an easy way of saying, or simple way of saying it, but we would rather stick our head in the sand, especially in our culture too. We would rather not have to experience suffering. We do everything we can to keep our kids from suffering, which I understand that, but we shouldn't. We should let them fall, because we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes.
So totally.
And I wish that I had done more of that with my kids, like looking back on it now. But the culture of things was you kind of helicopter parented, you kind of, protected them from all of those things. Well, I think the reason why we don't look back and try to dive into is because we don't want to have to go through a death. We don't want to have to go through the suffering. But in order, my brother and I talk about this a lot. And he's the one that kind of phrased this. He said, you have to enter death in order to experience resurrection. And so I think that is so well said, and that has been so true. And I had to enter the death and the suffering of my own experience in order to experience the resurrection, the freedom that I feel right now. And so my encouragement to anyone is it's going to be hard. It is going to cost you, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. And the resurrection, the freedom that brings is so worth it.
Yeah, that is so good. I've never heard that phrase, but I love it. And I will say, I had a stroke 4 years ago, so I wake up and it's cold. I'm thinking like I'm in heaven. And then I realized I survived. And then a nurse, it was the start of a Ukraine war. And, being a believer, we had great conversations. She said, Pete, can I share something with you? And I said, yeah, sure. I'm not going anywhere. And she said, your stroke, the type of stroke you have, most don't survive. And if they survive, they're a lot worse than you. And I'm going like, what? Like total paralyzed? And I'm going, and she said, a little angel was looking after you. And I say that because it wakes you up to the preciousness of life.
Yes.
And it is like a resurrection in the freedom to know, because I live every day like it's my last. I mean, being able to have that attitude or have that mindset, it sets you free, because we're so busy being busy that we don't take time to watch and hear the birds outside, to look around and see the beautiful world that we live in. And it's an eye opener, because I was on the fast. I mean, I could get things done, and my business just tanked because it was all about me. And the 5 people I had that I did digital marketing, they just kind of left because they didn't know what to do. I didn't have anything set up, and it just went away like that. But, I used to run, I used to play golf. I don't do either now, but podcasting is my golf, because I love getting to know people, and journaling is my running. And I don't run today. So you look at life totally different when you have that near-death experience.
That's true.
That I think, and people, you don't have to have a near-death experience, but you have to come to grips with who you are, what you're doing, and how you want to show up for life. And I totally agree. When you walk into that Rotary on Thursday morning, it's like,
there's fire. There's fire. It says it's a holy fire.
Yeah, I don't do anything but that. Now I'll probably go out to more, but I would always put that on my calendar. And then where I could bum a ride at night, I would get a ride with somebody, because serving fills your heart.
It does.
Tell me, at what part of your life did the light bulb go off to the fulfillment and the joy that you found from serving? Was it as a substitute, as a parent? Like, give our viewers an idea of when that really, because some people, and I know it when I went to my 50th high school union, there's my classmates, it still hadn't gone off, and they're 65, 6, 7, 8. So I always say, come on. I said to a couple of my friends, come on, let's go to Rotary. And they go, what's Rotary? I said, well, impact, service, community, making a difference in people's lives. And it was just like, I'm talking Greek to some of them. So just tell our viewers, like, when did Christa really kind of the heart start filling with that part of your life?
So I go back to my childhood. My mom is a server. She loves, every week we would have between 30 and 35 people over for lunch for church, after church.
Gosh.
I mean, of course, there are 8 of us already, and then we always add an extra 3 or 4 family members. So whatever, 8 plus 4 is 12. So 35 minus 12. So whatever that number is, that was always the number of people that we would have over. And she'd make a big thing of spaghetti. Hospitality was her thing. Serving was her thing, and having conversations, like being in people's lives. But I so that's part of who my family is service and loving people. My dad is like that too, just generous, the most generous man you will ever meet.
Mhm.
Of course he's my dad, so I'm a little biased. But I think though that service has been in my heart ever since I was a little girl. And I can remember a time, I'll tell the story very quickly because I see our time's about ending.
No,
Um,
no, keep going. Keep going.
I remember when I was a little girl, I was about 7 years old, and my fourth sister was born, and she was just an infant, and my mom was just exhausted with all the kids and everything. And my mom was like, Krista, I'm gonna go take a shower. She said, I'm gonna go take a shower. She said, but I don't want you to pick Charity as my sister. I don't want you to pick Charity up. She's in the bassinet. Just leave her there. She said, but if you could just sit there and watch her. Well, while I was watching my sister, while my mom was taking her shower and, trying to have some time to herself, she made this explosive diaper, as often infants do, where it came out of her diaper and was everywhere. And I was like, oh no, mom, I want to help mom out. But she's in the shower and she said not to pick her up. So I carefully crafted a way to scoot my sister over, wipe part of her down, change the sheets, scoot over. I never lifted her off the bed, but I scooted her back
Oh,
and forth around to clean her whole entire body and to clean the sheets and to put new clothing on her, a new diaper on her. And I was so I was like, oh, this is wonderful. My mom's going to come back and she's going to be so happy. And she walks in and she's like, oh, Krista, did you pick her up? And I said, because she had different clothes on. And I was like, no, mom. I explained what I did. And my mom started crying and she hugged me. And she said, Krista, that is so beautiful that you would want to serve me in that way and love me like that. And so that is my heart, is to love people and
yes.
to do what I can do, even maybe breaking the rules, but not really breaking the rules.
Yeah.
So
It's so cool because we got to figure out life, and it's like you have these certain boundaries, but rules, whatever, and then it's just kind of doing what you know is right, but within the parameters. And it's kind of like pushing the envelope, but yet giving your sister that outcome. Like nobody likes to be in a diaper of poop. Yeah, it's like if you were a rule follower, you would have said, well, I can't do anything now. But it's so beautiful that you weren't a rule follower, but you knew what she needed, and that was beautiful. Yeah, that is so good. What do you think, if you had, I ask this a lot. So Krista is talking to an 18-year-old Krista. You've lived all these years. You have those lessons. What would you advise an 18-year-old Krista at this that you could share with us?
I would tell her, don't be so hard on yourself. You don't have to have it all figured out.
Wow, that is so good. Yes. The little things in life, they don't really matter, but we put so much emphasis on them that they kind of become bigger than they need. So what is Krista most excited about when you look at this year and you could have a magic wand and you could go I don't know if you ever remember Bewitched, where she would,
yes.
and then, and you could be her for a second, and you could what would be your dream, and what would be your wish?
It's already coming true, because the self-reflection, the self-awareness, last year, my word for the year, I do a word for the year. Last year, my year was transformation, but this year, my word is breakthrough, dry bones come alive. And
Mm.
so I, that is my, like, I already feel dry bones coming alive. I feel myself settling in and becoming embodied in who that I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. And I mean, and I'm going to, acknowledge Rotary in that too. Like part of that is being a part of something bigger than myself and like serving. That is so exciting to me. So I think that, I mean, if I had a magic wand, a
Mhm.
magical wand,
Mhm.
um, I would have a home for homeless pregnant moms, and that I would be able to by the end of the year have at least 5 to 6 that I was, able to serve. But I also believe that what I'm doing with Must and what I'm getting ready to have the ministry, I mean the meeting with the housing manager and
Mhm.
what I'm able to do with life skills that I'm so excited about. So that's part of my
Mm.
magic wand is having an impact and being able to make a difference in people's lives. So
Ooh, that's so beautiful. Our pastor, like it was about a couple months ago, and he talked about our name will never be remembered after 2 generations. It's like try to remember your great grandfather, your great grandmother, or go even one great beyond that. And it's like, I have no idea. I don't even know them. So, but legacy, planning, impacting people's lives goes on to another generation. So, what you're saying is like to pour into a handful of people that are in tough times in their life and come alongside them. Okay, I need somebody to say, come alongside them
mhm,
to really help them through the struggle because
mhm,
we're all going to go through it, but we
mhm,
don't want to go through it alone. We want to go through it with somebody that can kind of hold you by the hand and work through that time of your life because you come out stronger. And that's
mhm.
so beautiful to see. So I have one more question, but I want you to tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of Krista? And then I have one final question I'd love to ask you.
You can email me. My email is my name, Christa Slimman at gmail.com. That's the
Mhm.
easiest one at gmail.com. Um, you can also call me. I mean, I don't know if I should put my phone number out there because I've gotten so many spam's my new best friend,
Yeah,
apparently.
I always say with my lady guests, don't if they need to get a hold of you, they'll get a hold of you because we'll put some things in the show notes, and
Sure.
so
Yeah.
I'm
Krista
always
Slimman at Gmail is a good one. Yeah.
that's so good. So I want to encourage our community to share this video with people that can support and help Krista in her journey because together we're better. And if we know the person and you think that's somebody Krista needs to know or be introduced to, share this with them. So what would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Uh, well, I think, can I say something that I haven't said yet?
Yes, absolutely.
um, you talked about what kind of legacy are you leaving, and you don't remember your grandfather's name, and name is a really big deal for me between me and God. And that's a whole other story for a whole other time. But I often, as I've become self aware and learning about myself, I'm often looking for people to name me. Oh, she's a good mom. Oh, she's a good wife. She is a good worker. And there's been a lot of heartache that has come because some very important people in my life have not named me in the way that I would like to be named. And again, I'll go back to my brother. My brother is kind of like one of my life coaches, my mentors. He's my only brother out of the 5 of us girls. He's my only brother. But he told me, he said, Krista, you have to remember only God can name you.
Hmm.
And and that Jesus was with the unnamed and the outcast.
Mm.
So go be with Jesus and the
Mm.
unnamed and the outcast. You don't have to remember my name. Nobody has to remember my name. But the fact that I'm doing what God is calling me to do, and he names me, he's the only one that gets to name me.
Mm.
That is what moves me forward.
That is so beautiful. Thank you, Christa. I appreciate so much being a guest on our show and sharing
Thank you.
your
Yes.
heart with our community. It's been a pleasure, and I just thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. Or as my Chick-fil-A people say, my pleasure.